Good, you find your way here. That's awesome. Happy Easter to those that celebrate. Hey, Sandy. It's funny. You know, I said to myself, I'm going to get all organized and I'm going to clean my craft room and make it all pretty. And, you know, I'm going to be so organized and I'm going to know where everything is. And right, I'm such a hot mess here. It's crazy. I can't find a thing. Hey, Tracy, happy Easter to you too. And happy Passover and all of the other holidays that are going on right now. There's just, I guess it's cultural wherever you are. There's something new. All kinds of cool stuff. As a kid growing up, we did a lot with the family holidays. And, you know, my grandma, she was one of those sticklers for the family must get together, and everybody gathered. And after my grandma passed away, all that was over. I think when the matriarch of the family kind of goes, then that's the end. That's the end. So I miss the family traditions for sure. And the gatherings. And all the cool food. Oh, yeah. I keep saying, you know, I'm going to get organized. I'm going to get organized. I'm going to get my glitter all in containers. And I'm going to, you know, get my new turner set up, and and I'm just like, I swear I'm making more of a mess than I'm straightening it out. It's horrible. I can't stand it. I just like want to hire somebody to come in and go, okay, just fix it. Like fix the whole thing and organize it. And I have a really decent sized room that I kind of took over. And you know, I have plenty of space to move around. It's just, I have so much stuff. You don't realize how much stuff you accumulate over the years of crafting, just whatever kind of crafting that you're doing, whether it's, you know, you're cupping or you're sewing or you're doing like whatever, and you just keep collecting supplies. And then I'm one of those people where I don't ever want to throw something away because I might need it. You know, it's like, I might need that. And here it is like 15 years later, and I'm looking at, and it's perfectly good. And I'm like, I might need that. I don't know. Maybe someday I'm going to use that. All right. So today is part 1 of the dragon. I'm going to teach you all how to do a dragon eye tumbler. So, basically what you're doing is I don't have a whole one made because I've had a disaster happen, and the cup that I was preparing, I put the epoxy on it. I started to put epoxy on, and the foam, like foamy thing that you put the cup on, it like, I don't know, it failed in the middle of the night. I woke up, I have a cup stuck on my floor. I have to try and get that up. Yeah, it's a hot mess over there too. So yes, exactly, Carla. We rescue craft supplies. Absolutely. I totally, and people will say, hey, do you need, would you like to have these craft supplies? And I'm like, sure, I might, you know, use them or know somebody who can use them. Like, when my husband's mom passed on, she was a knitter, and I have never knit a thing in my life. I have like a huge collection of knitting needles and like every size that you could possibly want to have. What am I going to do with them? I have no idea, but I could not bring myself to toss them. I just couldn't do it. It's like, makes my heart sad. Can't do it. So anyhow, so what we're going to do is that this is kind of going to be like 3 parts. I may space it out and not do it like all, you know, like boom, boom, boom weekly. I don't know. You guys let me know how you feel, or what level of comfort that you're at, because well, a lot of people have already done a dragon scale or mermaid scale tumbler, which is kind of like this. If you haven't made one of these, I do have a full tutorial here on how to do this. Actually, I think I did this one live during the tutorial, where you cut scales from cardstock, which is just basically, and I have a file, and I can pass that on to you if you need it. And you just cut these little scales. I like to cut them so they're about 1 inch. You can make them smaller, you can make them bigger. It totally depends on what your preference is and the size of the cup that you're doing. I use this size on all my cups. So you would cut a whole bunch of these. Usually I cut 3 sheets of cardstock, which is just a standard 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And then I have some extra, because sometimes when you're doing them, they tear. You don't want to put a torn one on, because it does actually, I mean, if the little tip on the end of it on the lower scales is off, that's not such a big deal. But you really want to make sure that your scale is in good shape, particularly around the edges and everything else. So if they tear, and it's just cards. This is 65-pound cardstock. Okay, I'll post it. I'll try and post it on the bottom of this live, but if it doesn't let me, I can Facebook message it to you if you want, Isabel. I'm not, whatever you're comfortable with. And Sandy, okay. Just hit me up. Just message me and tell me you need the dragon scale file. It's actually, so the way that I did it is I got it, and then I threw it into the SVG website that does the conversions for free. It's like super easy, super quick. And then I dropped it in, and I just added a few of them. And I can't save off my Cricut to a file, so you're going to get like the original file that I have on it. So that's fine. So you want to cut like three sheets of these for like a 30 ounce. If you need a 20, you're probably going to need maybe 2.5. Again, like I said, when you're trying to take it off the mat, oh my gosh, it's like make you nuts. It doesn't all peel up easy, and you have to kind of like come in and I actually used this tool, which is just needle nose tweezers, and I'll come in it on the side like this and just slide up underneath the scales, and it just pops them right off of the mat. And use the mat that has the I think it's like the blue mat, which is the lightweight one. Don't use a heavy or a medium weight, even though it's cardstock. You'll never get them off. You'll never get it's awful. So this is what the eye is going to go on to. However, because we're doing an eye, we're actually going to make the eye out of clay. We're going to bake it in the oven, and then we're going to remove the eye. So I'm going to go through all of this with you guys. And then what you're going to do is you're going to draw on your cup where your eye is going to be placed. You're going to go ahead and put all of your scales onto your cup except where it's going to go, because you don't want to have that over. That's going to make it like really thick on your cup and stick up really far. So you want to kind of be careful with the depth that you're using. So that's why I'm using 65-pound paper cardstock, And then when I do my eye, I roll it reasonably thin, but enough so that it's going to be sturdy. So I'm probably going to go like 1/8 of an inch at the thinnest parts, and then maybe 1/4 of an inch at the thickest part. There might be a few areas where it's built up a little bit more than that, but because of the baking process, we're baking it on the tumbler in the oven. And I don't use Das air dry clay. I'm sorry if that's what you guys like. I won't use it. I don't like it. I use Sculpey original clay. You want to make sure that it's original, not any of the other ones. And the color doesn't matter. It's like I get the white because it's the least expensive Sculpey. It works super good for me. I really, really like it. All right, so we're ready to go. And this is what we're going to do. I am going to try and I'm going to start here with you guys here. And then if I need to move it up, but then I'm going to have trouble seeing comments, just so you know. So we're going to try it this way, but I'm going to be able to work with you and show you what I'm doing step by step. I'm just going to drop my phone down a little bit here so that you guys can see. Trying to like prop the silly thing up. It's like I really, really, really want to get a better setup for my lives. I've been trying to come up with something. I got like a ring light, I got like all this other stuff, and it just, I don't know. I guess I'm just dumb when it comes to technology because I can't figure it all out. All right. So step one is you're going to get your Sculpey clay. Now what I do is I buy the 8-pound box, and it lasts me like forever. And what I'll do is I'll sit and I'll just condition a whole block of it. So the blocks are baked into 1-pound blocks. You can buy single blocks at any craft shop. So you can get them at Michael's, you can get them at Joann Fabrics, you can get them at Hobby Lobby, you can get them at Walmart, you can get them anywhere. Prices are going to range kind of all over the place for the clay. I really can't say, do not buy the dollar store clay. It's garbage. I mean, honestly, it is. I don't like it. If it works for you, that's great, but that's just my opinion. I don't have one. I will post a link for you, Isabel. I'll get a link off of me. Actually, I put one on already. If you go to the event description, so you got to, I think you have to open it up where it says more or something like that. Everything that I'm using and that I suggest that you get is linked into that. So like if it's an Amazon thing, I put just an example of a link into Amazon for you. There's actually a dragon eye mold. It's really kind of cool, actually. It's got the eye, it's got claws, and then there's another package that has scales that you can press. We're doing a dragon eye tumbler, Christina. So this is part 1 today, and so I'm just conditioning some clay. So by the word conditioning, what I'm doing is I'm just taking the clay and I'm just squishing it. That's all you're doing. You're squishing the clay, and what it does is it softens the clay. Now, if you have arthritis, as we all get older, we tend to develop these things. This is great, actually, for arthritis. It will actually kind of help to keep your hands nimble. However, there are days when my hands just don't want to work well, and I take another root, which I got a pasta maker. So it's just like one of those pasta makers. And it's got the crank on the side. So think of like grandma's kitchen and the crank on the side. Now, Sculpey sells one of them, and you're going to pay a fortune for it. So if you go looking for a pasta, it's a pasta machine, pasta maker, pasta roller. It could be called any of those. Sometimes you can find them at like the Goodwill store or whatever for like a couple of dollars. And you can condition a whole bunch of clay real quick. So normally what I will do is I will sit down with a couple of my 1 pound blocks, because I do a lot of clay work, and I will sit and watch TV, and I will just knead it, and then I will take a bag and I'll throw the pieces, just little pieces, into the bag so that the majority of the stuff is conditioned. It will harden up a little bit, but like this one here, I just broke it off. This is not as easy to move, but it'll move really quickly afterwards, because the heat from your hands will get into the clay, and it just makes it softer to work with. So you wanna work with some of that. Sometimes I'll just roll it, and then you squish it together, and you just keep going back and forth. If you have an old rolling pin, that's also another great thing to have when you're doing clay work. Old rolling pins are fantastic. What else can you use? Actually, something like this works too. You just take it and you kind of squish it down, pull it up, take it off, mish it in a ball again, and keep doing that. So remember, like if you're having trouble with your hands and you're unable to do it, because I know that there, we do have some senior crafters. We do have some people that have like fibromyalgia, things like that. They have a really hard time working with things with their hands. These are just little tricks that I use to help me to be able to craft, because hey, I love crafting, and crafting is it's my escape from the world, and I like it. So just condition a bunch of clay. Now, you're not going to need a ton to do the eye, but I always like to have more prepared. It's kind of like when I do epoxy or anything else. I always make more than what I need, because this can just go back in the bag if you don't use it. All right. Now, and I'm sorry, I know I talk a lot and I go over a lot of things, but I think overall people really, particularly newer crafters, they really do appreciate the whys and the how to do stuff. I'm thinking about doing some tutorials where it's more of a professional kind of tutorial, where I voice over, and I'll just make it and voice over really quickly. I don't know how that'll go, but that's some things that I have planned for the future. Just so we can have advanced people who already know how to do stuff. They don't have to listen to me talk about why you need to, sand a cup before to prep it. All right. So for step 1, after we get this clay conditioned, what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece up. Now, I like parchment paper or freezer paper or something like that to work on. And the reason that I use this is because, and I really love freezer paper, because freezer paper has like that waxy side on one side and then the paper side on the other, which you can draw on. So what I start off by doing, and if anybody work with nail tape, like when you get the nail tape to do like the detailing work, save your rings. These are awesome. These are so good when you're doing clay work, because like this is the perfect eye size. Like this is perfect for the eye. So if you don't have this, that's okay. Grab a quarter, or like it depends on how big your eye is going to be. So you do want to kind of plan that out and say, okay, you want to keep your dimensions right on, as close as you can for your eye versus the flesh that's going to go around the eye, and how much of that you're actually going to be putting on the cup. Problem with most of the pre-made molds that I've found out there is there's way too much or there's not enough, and there's no middle of the road. And then it's really hard to make it look uniform when you have a mold and they've done something to get these scale type looks into that mold. I think it's really hard. So a lot of times I'll just do my own eye, but I found another mold that I'm loving, and it's actually a soap mold, and I love it. I love it. I love it because it makes the absolutely most perfect dragon eye that I've ever used. So I'll show you that after. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your cup and you're gonna decide, hey, what cup am I gonna use? It doesn't matter what cup you use. You use a big cup, you use a little cup, you use a skinny cup, use a fatty cup, whatever you want. So for intents and purposes, we're going to use one of these. This is Art Minds. This is from Michael's. These cost like $4.50 to $5 a piece when you buy them by the case. I love the cups. I think they're great. They're great practice cups. They also are great. They're inexpensive. They're great to, they're great cups. I just don't like the lid. So that's the only complaint that I have about them, but they're good cups. I really like them. So what you're going to do is you're going to sand prep your cup just the way you would with anything. And again, sanding, why do you sand the cup? Because when cups are manufactured, they put a coating on the cup. That's meant to help to repel any sort of debris, oils from your hands, things like, whatever, drips, whatnots. You sand that off, and that's why you sand your cup. You're sanding off that coating that's there. If you leave the coating on, well, it's a political statement. Some people do, some people don't. I'm not going to get into that. I sand all my cups because I have never, ever one time had any problems. If I didn't sand my cup, I had a problem once. It was acting up. I was having a lot of adhesion problems. I couldn't get my spray paint to, I couldn't get my stuff to stick. I was like, forget it. I'm just sanding it. So sand it. Sand it, sand it, sand it. And then decide, okay, well, and then once that's done, once you wash it, I alcohol mine. That's what works for me. And then I set them off to dry while I'm doing the rest of my work. Okay, so next step is you're going to do your eye. So today we're going to actually try, we're going to sculpt an eye. This takes time. This is not something that like, boom, it's done. If you want to be boom done, then you need to buy a mold so that you're boom done. This is going to take you some time to do. I'm not going to do the whole thing live because it just takes, for me to do an eye, it takes probably about two and a half hours. And I'm not going to take up your whole Sunday doing that, but I'll get you started. So what we're going to do is we got our clay conditioned, and then we're going to take a piece of paper. You can even use regular paper and make a shape for your eye. So this is about the size that I want my eye to be because I'm going to be putting it here on my cup, and I really want it to stick out. I really want it to be pronounced on my cup. So all I did was I basically drew the teardrop shape, and then this is just a template for me to get my clay started, and then you start doing your detail work. The circle in the middle is where actually the iris is going to be, the center part of the eye. And all I did for that was I used this ring. But if you don't have a little thingy, like I said, everybody's got a quarter. Use a quarter. Use the bottom of a paint bottle. You can do that too. The medicine cups are a little too big, as you can see. And And then the other side works kind of. It's a little bit smaller, but this could work if you have these, and you're just going to press that down into your clay to get your center of your eye. Okay, so that's that. All right. So now I have my clay. I'm sorry, I have my my template. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some clay and I'm going to make my base. So what I want to do is I'm going to roll out some clay, and I'm going to get this reasonably thin. I don't want it, I don't really want this any thicker than 1/8 of an inch. So you can start by just flattening it out in your hand. I like this process. I think this is really cool. And then I'm going to take it. This is butcher's paper. If you have a paper plate that has like a coating on it, that will work too. And then just put it on top. And then go ahead and roll it out. So again, you use whatever you have in order to do the rolling. I had a rolling pin here, and I'll be darned if I can figure out where I stuck it. I've been, like I said, I've been cleaning and cleaning and cleaning. So I'm going to use this, which is just, it's a mean muggin from Mother Tumbler. And you're just going to squish it out. Isn't this fun, guys? You having a good time? But as they say in the world of crafting, we're all okay here. We got this. We got this. We can do this. This is not going to be awful. Trust me. Okay. Ooh. Sticky, sticky. Good deal. All right, now I'm going to take my eye and I'm going to get my scissors and I'm just going to cut my eye out. And again, you know, like I said, this is just a rough thing for you to go by when you're making your eye. And just cut it out. Leave a little extra on the sides just so that I find that when I start to cut, my brain goes, ooh, no, I think I want to have that angle. I like that better. So then I'll end up with that. And then you want to check it on your cup once you cut it out and just make sure that it's about the right size so you can kind of tell, hey, I think I need to make it a little smaller. No, I think I need to make this a little bit bigger. And how the angle is going to be and fall on your cup. So you got that. All right, then you're going to come over and you're going to take your eye and you're going to check your clay and you're going to make sure that your clay is flattened out enough so that you can get your eye on there, which I am not quite. I need a little more, just a little more on this side. So that's my fancy tools that I'm using. But I figure, you know what? Not everybody has rolling pins and not everybody has clay rollers, but everybody has tumblers. The skinnies work awesome. Awesome, awesome for this, for doing the rolling pin thing. All right, now we got it. Okay. Yep. Okay. Make sure you keep it kind of like, make sure your top and your bottom, you know which is your top and which is your bottom part. Because you could end up going the other way when you put it on your cup. I did that the other day. I was making one of these and I went through the whole thing, the whole process, and I wanted my eye to be facing to the right. I did the whole thing. I had original, and what I did was when I put it down, I reversed it. So, stuck. Now, if you don't have an X-Acto blade, don't freak out. Just go to the kitchen and get a butter knife or get a sharp knife, whatever. This is non-toxic clay, by the way. So, if you want to do, you know, you can wash these, wash them up, and then they're fine. You know, you can still use them. I usually end up kind of commandeering one of my kitchen knives anyhow to, I don't know. So like, you know how we, everything is a craft tool. We need it, we use it. All right. And then just cut your other side. Make sure you leave a little tiny bit because we're going to soften our edges in the long run. So you just kind of cut it. And if you're blind like me, you got to kind of like move the whole thing around. And then we're just going to take our excess clay. We're going to put it off to the side. And we have our general eye shape. Now for the middle, the next thing is you want to decide, well, where's your eye going to be? And make sure that your eye is thin enough. So when I'm looking at this, I'm going to probably guess that this is about 1/4 of an inch thick, which is like way too thick for the base coat of the eye. When it goes onto the cup, it's going to be way too thick because I'm going to build up, and I'm actually going to put my scales. I'm going to build up. I'm going to put some scales at the top. I'm going to put some scales underneath. I don't want this being 1/2 inch thick. This isn't like a gnome nose. This is something that I want to kind of be flush or more flush onto the cup. So in this case, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to come in. I'm going to have to roll this out and roll it thinner. So I'm just going to take my shape. I'm going to come in. If you find that your clay is sticking, it does come off the cup. Like, I like the stainless cups. I think they, you know, they're kind of cool because it does come off pretty quickly. If you're going to roll to the top or the bottom on the thin parts, make sure that you're leaving something for it to grab a hold of. Don't make it like, you know, paper thin. You need it to have a little grab. Now, if we were going to bake it directly on the cup, then we would be adhering it to the cup, like I've shown everybody in a bunch of my other videos on how to do clay work on cups. So you can check out any of those. All right, so back over, you see what I just did. I'm just going to put this back on. I'm going to recut it. This process can take just a little bit of time. This is not the kind of thing that you're going to do, you know, like ultra fast. It just doesn't. Everybody loves these cups. And like I said, you can get the molds. And the molds work really good overall because it's faster. You don't have to worry about sculpting. You don't have to worry about, you know, trying to get the thing to look good because all the work is done for you. All right. So now we have our general eye shape. I like that. I'm happy with it. And then I'm going to take my little template off. And then I just have my, and I like this, like I said, this is butcher's paper. A paper plate will do the same thing. You can actually pick it up, move it around. And then I'm going to take that little circular piece that I had, and I'm going to decide where my eye is going to be. So I'm just going to use that little circle. I'm going to kind of figure out what I want to do. Put this in. Okay, so I'm kind of happy with that. I'm kind of liking where that is. And I'm just going to press this down, and then I'm going to pop this out. All I'm using this little eye thing, this little plastic thing, is just for a general shape for that eye. Now I'm going to build up around these, and what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start adding some detailing. So you're going to do, if you've never done clay work before, there's some cute little terms that we learn when we're doing clay. And I learned this like when I was in kindergarten. It's called making a snake. And this will be a lot of the detail work that we do is making snakes of clay. And the way that you do it is you're just going to take a little ball of clay, roll it up in your hands so you have a little ball, and then roll it through the palm of your hand like so. And what happens is the pressure of your hands makes the clay move out and you end up with a little snake. Then, if you want it more precise or more evenly spaced out, which is nice, is you just gently, very gently, take your fingers and roll it, and then sort of spread it down, and the snake will grow, but it will also even it out. And then what you can do is you can start to pick out, like, put your detailing on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off, and I'm going to put this around my eye. Okay, that's not quite long enough. So I'm going to just take it back, and I'm just going to keep rolling. Now, if this starts to get too thin, you're kind of like going to have to backtrack it out, add another bit of clay in there, and then just roll again. Now, and again, these go by really fast. You can roll this thing out super quickly, get it to thicken out, thin out, however you want to do it, and just keep rolling. And I like to do it a little longer than what I actually need anyhow, because it just makes it more sense that, you know, okay, I can cut it off. And remember, with clay, you're not wasting it. You're not coloring it. You're not doing anything to your clay. All right, so now I have a big old piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, and I'm going to start at one spot in my, it doesn't matter really. Although I kind of like to start on the side, and I'll show you guys why in a sec. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come around, and I'm going to fill in that center circle. But I'm doing it kind of loosely. And then I'm going to pull off that clay, and then I have that. Now, we're going to make the sides of the eyes. So when you think of a cat's eye, a dragon's eye, there's little points, and even the human eye. There's a point on the inside closest to the bridge of the nose, and then also the points on the outer sides of the eye. So now we're going to pinch that area, and we're just going to make that just a little bit. Like it's not going to, it doesn't need to be a whole lot. It's just a little bit of a pinch. If you press your clay down just a little bit, it will stick. Let's see how I did that. Sorry, ignore this, that little piece of clay. It's up there. All right. So everybody got following along okay? You got where we're at? You can make this this area thinner if you want to, but I actually I want to try it this thick because I actually want to put some scales around. And then what I did was I got a set of very inexpensive, like super cheap clay tools ages ago, like ages and ages and ages ago. Brandy at not Brandy, Stacy over at Southern Sassy Sparkles has ordered some of these tools. They're also great if you do mica hatching. So she should have them in shortly, which will be amazing and awesome. So if you need clay tools or anything like that, check that out. Okay, so now I have my general shape for my eye. Now the rest of it and the long, arduous process of detailing. And you can do this to your own skill level. So we started off with this is where the center part of the eye is going to be. Now you can come in and you can make a dragon eyes. When you always see the dragon eyes, there's always the center area of the eye. And I'm going to make like a slice, like a little S slice here, because I think that looks really cool. So all I did was I drew it in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a flat, I'm using a clay tool. A butter knife can work. I just don't have one handy. And you're going to press in and widen that area out just a little bit. So you're not going to pierce all the way down through your clay, but you are going to go down pretty far into your clay. All right, so y'all with me so far? All right, now the next thing, and to speed it up, is you want some detailing in here. So this is your eyeball here. This is your area, you know, around the eye that protects the eye. So when you think of the human eye, now we're going to have some scaling that comes over the eye, and I like to do like a couple of layers around there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, you can do your X-Acto blade, you can do whatever, and you're just going to draw in some detail lines. So, and you do want to follow the eye. So you've already got this eye in here. So now you want to follow this eye so that it doesn't like misshape. And we may cut some of this extra clay away. We may end up doing that. All right, so I'm going to come up. I'm just going to put in some lines around here. So my first one, what I did was I started at the point of the eye, and I drew up and around, and I actually took it over to the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up putting scales up here at this top area. So I want to have some definition, almost like the brow, like where their brow is. You want to have a little definition in there. And then we're going to do a couple more lines that come up in that area. And these are just kind of guidelines for where we're going to put our snakes in. Okay. And then we're going to come underneath the bottom. And if you make a mistake when you're drawing with the knife, or, you know, don't worry about it. You can just rub it with your finger and get rid of it. Works out perfectly. Okay, so basically what I did was I put in just some marker lines for me to see where I'm going to lay down some snakes. Try and get that in closer. You can see that just like little scratch marks in your cup, in your thing. Now we're going to take one of our, like I said, oh, you know what else works really good if you don't have these? If you have a dotting tool, that can work. You're just going to use light pressure to get some detailing in. Don't have one of those. That's okay. It's okay. You can use the end of a paintbrush. A lot of us have a whole bunch of different size paintbrushes. Works really good. Don't have a paintbrush? That's okay. You can use a stir stick. Anything. You can use anything. All right, so now we're going to start some detail. So what I want to do is I'm going to put in, I have my iris and my eye area. Now I want to start off with my top line, and I'm just going to lay this around. And this is where things start to matter. So we're going to put this in, cut it off. And what I'm doing is I haven't had any scales yet. The scales are kind of like the last part that you do. They don't all have to be the same thickness. Remember that this is just detail. So play with some different thicknesses of your clay. just to give you some idea of what it is that you're doing. And you know what? I drew 3 lines in here. Well, you know what? Maybe I don't want it. I won't end up using all those lines. It depends on the amount of detail that you want to have. Now, if you're making this as a cup for yourself, that's great. If you're making this cup for a customer, remember your time, your energy, what you're doing, all that stuff needs to be taken into consideration when you price it out. So is it going to be worth you spending all that time making that? Put in your second line. See how it looks. And then just cut off your clay and save the rest that you know, you didn't use, which is what I end up doing. I just kind of rough cut. I go back in. Well, I'm glad. I'm kind of like the Bob Ross of clay. I mean, you know, love clay. Always have loved clay. Do all kinds of crazy stuff with clay. It's a lot of fun. It's really good for your head. Like if you're having a lot of things going on in your life, I don't know, I just grab some clay and I'll just start playing with it, and it just makes the blues go away for a while. So super good. All right, so we're gonna do another line in here. I like different widths because when you're thinking about the way that the eye is shaped and you want to kind of like build up around the brow area. And this is truly why some people just want to get a mold. They don't want to go through all this. They don't feel like, you know, dealing with it. And I understand that. And like I said, I did put a link for one. I'm going to see if I can find the link for the other one that I found, which actually works like really, really, really good. I really like it a lot. Okay. And just use my little guidelines here. And again, you're not committed to anything at this point. You can still make changes. You can still move things around. You can still say, you know what, forget it. I'm going to go buy a mold because I'm done with that. So you see how it's starting to evolve into the eye, and it's starting to build up into the eye. Now for these where you get all these joint pieces of clay in here, where this is all kind of like a big mish of clay, well, you know what, I don't like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my fingers. Sculpey is really nice to work with. What you can do is you can actually just rub your finger. You can try different pressures and just gently rub your finger, and what it does is it softens the clay and makes it move. You don't want to put a lot of pressure at one time, and the reason that you're not going to put a lot of pressure is because you can tear your clay, because our hands are actually stronger than we think that they are. So you're just going to, again, usually these 2 fingers are your main fingers that you're using when you're doing clay work for shaping or anything like that. This piece here will start to grow. It will start to get longer. That's okay. I'll cut off whatever I don't want to have in, you know, on the eye. What I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to get these pieces to blend together. And you'll get little shards that come off. Just take them, pop them on your clay pile. They're still perfectly good. Like I said, there's no waste when it comes to clay. You just recycle and reuse whatever it is that comes off or that you don't need. Again, occasionally, every once in a while, I will take my cup and I will say, okay, How is this starting to look? Is this going to still work on my eye? Is my eye okay? Where am I at? Do I have the right angles? So my eye is going, this long elongated piece is going to be more towards the top. It's hard to see because I have such a big piece of paper here, but as it wraps around the cup, is that what I want? Yes, I like it. Now I can start adding final details or add more into the design. You could take off this part here if you wanted, and up here you could mesh this down into it, which will give you more depth in the eye. Generally what I like to do is I like to soften my edges on my clay and just rubbing my finger along my clay and just soften those edges. Make sure you get the other side too, where all the pieces join. You wanna just soften it and make sure that they blend together. Trying to do this so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and then I kind of have like this little weird gloppy sort of thing going on here in the middle. Kind of hard to get your fingers into these areas. So this is where the silicone tools, little tools, can be very helpful to kind of press down. These are soft, so when you move this across your clay, it will soften the area but not tear through if you're doing it lightly. If you do use a heavier pressure, then you can get more definition, you get more detailing in. And again, I'm just making sure that I'm getting all my shapes the way that I want them to be in the eye, and around the eye. And again, like I said, a lot of people, they just go for the mold and go, you know what, forget it. This is like way too much work. I'm just going to go buy a mold. And, but the thing is that, yeah, you have a really cool dragon eye mold. How many times you're going to use it? They cost like $12, $15 for a mold that you're going to use once. Is it worth it? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. Some people will say yes. Some people will say no. Okay. Again, all these little shardy pieces that come off, I just throw them back in the pile. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to add my scales. So to add your scales, really not hard. Really not hard at all. You can, there are several methods to do this. You can do the slice method. Well, actually, I think I'm going to add one more thicker band of clay up at the top before I do that. Just because I sort of feel. Because I want it to have like a real buildup of the clay. On there. It's still too thick. You have to kind of talk to yourself too. Go crazy. All right. So now we're going to soften again. So this is, like I said, it can take a process. It is a process, but it's a good process. It's a creative process. Clay work is not for everybody. Absolutely. I mean, it's just like one of those things where people, either you love it or you don't. It's just that simple. If you're super crazy busy, if you're like like somebody who's making tons of cups and you're busy, chances are you're not going to have time but I'll tell you, these look amazing when they're done. I really like the difference, because no two eyes are ever going to be the same. I like the fact that when I make something for somebody, you know, even though they're similar, the concept is the same. Hey, it's a dragon eye or a mermaid scale or a kraken or whatever that I'm doing. There's still a difference. So it gives it like this unique individuality for people. I'm gonna spread. Oh, my cat's deciding to go crazy. Hi, kitty. Yes. All right. Boop. Okay, now we can stop at this point and start to add our scales. And the scales are actually not hard. They're really not hard to do. What you're going to do is you need to grab a couple of little things that you're going to use. You can use the end of a paintbrush, or you can do like a popsicle sticks. This also works. I want it to be kind of small. So think about how you want your scale to be. I want it to be kind of small in there. So go with like, okay, what do I have that's going to let me do what I want with that tool? So maybe this will work, this end of this stick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of come in and I'm going to start to like separate and slice. I'm not going deep into the clay. I'm just kind of scoring it, but I'm also using this as kind of like a measuring device at the same time. So, you know, like I've got my little tool there, I put it down, and then I kind of come in and I can put it up against the one that I just did, and then kind of tick over so that they're going to kind of be the same size in there, which I find that, you know, uniformity is important. And then once you do that, once you get some of the, let me get some of these in here. Okay, so I put in some of those. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take something else that's, you could even use a toothpick. And then you're going to kind of round them. So you're going to take from where you did your little slit, and you start on one end, and you just kind of drag gently, because all you're really doing is scoring and putting a detail into your clay. So basically, all you're doing is you're just kind of scratching. See how this marks the clay? That's what you want. You want to just mark the clay with the detail. So we're making the scales. Scales can go, you know, kind of rounded. They sort of round off. They're not like squares. They sort of round. So that's what we're doing. And what we're going to do is we're going to come and we're just going to bring it, start on the end, this far end here, and round that way. We're going to do the same thing on this side. It's a little hard to do it like this, okay? And then I'm going to come back up on the other side, and I'm going to come back in and do it the other way. And this is what I'm going to do this. And you can see where this is like a little tedious. It takes a little bit of time. You may have some little shards fall off. That's okay. Don't worry about it. You're going to clean all that up afterwards. Just go through each scale step and put the, you know, just put in your detail. If you're finding that there's too much space between, you know, you can come back in and add more scales That works too, you know, whatever works for you. Usually the first one that you do, you're like, think about it afterwards and you're like, oh, you know what? I could have did this. I could have did that. I could have. And that's how you grow as an artist, guys. So please don't be, you know, like afraid to try something or like, oh my God, I just screwed it up. Okay, so what? So what? You just did, but you got that far, right? You got this far. You're okay. You're okay. You learned a process up to a process. You made a mistake. Can you fix it? Okay. Well, you know what? I hate how this looks. It's driving me crazy. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to snip this right here. I'm going to pull this piece of clay off. I'm going to rip this piece off. And boom, guess what? I can do it again. You don't have to scrap the whole thing. You just do it again. It's that simple. It's that simple. So again, you know, I'm so into like encourage you, please try new things. Don't be afraid to try stuff. If it's too time consuming, I get it. I get it. Because some of these things they really are time consuming. And some of them are not. And you know, everybody's different. Everybody's different. You can use your thumb to get some detailing in if you want to. Play with your clay. Learn how it responds to you. That's just with my thumb. And I think and unfortunately my nail, which is just a little bit too long, so I was actually scoring my my clay as I went along, which actually is kind of convenient when you come around to it. But you know, you can do that. You could just do it this way. Totally what you want. Play with your stuff. Okay, so get your eye put together however you want to get it put together. Usually what I would do is at this point I'm going to take off this piece here. I kind of like this thing that's going on here. I know it looks sort of weird, but when you think about a dragon eye, and the dragon eye would kind of be like, all right, well, first of all, dragon eyes do not go like this. They'll always be tilted because of the way that the dragon's head is. So their eyes kind of face downward in this type of a look. So what I want to do is I'm going to kind of like bring this maybe up a little bit. And this would start to go into the bridge of the nose maybe. You don't have to, or you can just chop it off. Chop it off. Whoop. Like so. I chopped it off. Okay, and then I have one that I got done, and I did it, and it's done. And all I did was for this part here in the scaling, all I did was as I took a tool like this, and I just kept slashing at it. The other thing that works really good, again, these cheap little clay tools, is this guy here. These were like mega cheap. I think even the dollar store has like cheap clay tools if you want to get some. But I know that Stacy at Southern Sassy Sparkles, she's ordered some really nice kits of all kinds of cool, some of them have dotting tools on end, which is really awesome because when you're doing mica hatching, I'm also going to be doing a thing on dot art. So that's really cool. Okay, now you made your eye and it's all done, right? Now here's the process. If it's on butcher's paper, paper plate, something like that. Okay, so the next step is this will never harden because this is sculpted clay. This is never going to harden until we put it in the oven. Now, the baking process is the same as in all my other tutorials. You take your piece, you put it into a cold oven, you throw away the instructions that are on the box, and you put it on your tumbler, put this into a cold oven on a baking pan, like a baking sheet. Once you're done getting it into the oven, close the door, turn the oven on 220. When it's done preheating, set the oven timer to 20 minutes. When the timer goes off, shut off the oven. Do not peek. It's like a cheesecake. Don't cheat or it will crack. Don't open the door or it will crack. It will run the risk of cracking. Can't guarantee it will crack, but you do run a high risk of your clay cracking when you do that. What you did, because you put it into the cold oven, turned it on, and let the whole thing come up to temperature. Everything warmed evenly and equally at the same time. Creates what's known as the kiln effect. It's the same thing when they fire pottery. Then when you shut the oven off, you keep the door closed for 3 to 4 hours. So don't plan on doing this when you have to cook dinner. 3 to 4 hours. And it's a good 3 to 4 hours. If you have a good oven that has a good seal on it, I know my oven can stay warm for about 5 hours after I shut it off. Because how do I know? Because I opened the door and I went to take a cup out at like 4.5 hours, and I'll be darned, everything was still really warm. Like, it didn't burn me to pick it up. I could pick it up with my hand, but it was still really warm. Well, you know what? My darn clay cracked. Yep. So don't do that. And that's it. All right. Now, how are you going to make this, which is flat, go on this? You're going to take a piece of parchment paper. Do not use tin foil. Parchment paper. You can get it anywhere. You get it at Dollar Tree, actually. Take a little piece and tape it to your cup. It's not going to stay on here really easily for, like, I don't know what it is about parchment paper and tape. I used painter's tape. I suppose you could use masking tape. Don't use, what do you call that? You know, like Christmas wrapping paper tape. But, damn. My brain is blank. Help me out, somebody. You know, like the clear plastic tape. Don't use that because it's too sticky. It will actually leave like nasty residue on your cup. You'll end up going through a nightmare trying to clean it off. Plus, it can bleed into your clay, so don't do that. I found that this worked really good for me. So what I did was I put a couple pieces at the top and the bottom, and then I just kind of like tacked it on. I didn't worry about the top part here. But, you know, again, you could just put it on, tape it down, do whatever you can just to get a barrier between this cellophane tape. Thank you. All I could see was like the Scotch Guard tape, you know, in the little Christmas package there that they do for the wrapping. Okay, so now you have this on here. Now what you're going to do is you're going to carefully take that piece that you just ever so lovingly crafted, and you're going to slowly peel it off of your paper. Now do be careful doing this because you can rip your clay, so do be careful and use gentle hands. If you have a silicone sheet, that's even like better because you can work right on the silicone sheet. Do I have a silicone sheet? I have it underneath my darn turner. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You know, like those, where in the heck is it? I thought I had another one. You know, the little thin silicone sheets that everybody ends up putting underneath their turners and stuff. That's perfect. They actually have like little tiny ones that you could just lay across the cup. It'd probably stay down just fine. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your eye and you're going to decide, well, now this is where you're committed. So I want my eye to be at this height on my cup, and I want this angle, or maybe I want it lower. Okay, so you can see though that it's not shaped. It's just kind of like laying flat across my cup. So get it where you want it to be and the angle that you want it to be. And then take the whole thing and gently press down. So you can literally see, I'm just gently pressing down on here, and I'm making it stick to my paper that's there. You do want to make sure that your edges are cleaned up. So if you have sloppy edges or there's like little jaggy pieces, once your clay is baked, there's nothing that you can do with it other than maybe sand it or try to fix, that's really the only way. I'm just not even going to go there. You'd have to sand, gently sand. You could crack your clay. Be really careful. So when you're putting it on, you just really want to make sure that you are, like, everything is like the way you want it to be, because once you bake it, you're done. Once you bake it, it's done. It's a done deal. Okay, so you have all your detailing on. This is how the eye is going to look on the cup. Maybe you want to sculpt another eye for the other side. That's a possibility too. I think it's cool. Some people put the eye up high, or they put these little, like, what do you call it? Claws down at the bottom. But that's it. That's how you do that. Hold on, guys. I gotta plug you in because I just noticed I like that 4%. Dude, sorry. Look at that. So my phone is gonna die on me. So you guys got the idea. Sticks on there. Put your detailing in. Get it in however you want, and you're good to roll. I'm trying to decide like when to do part 2, because I want to show you guys how to do the scaling around the eye. There are some people that didn't do the eye, like they don't know how to do the mermaid scales. If you need the file for the scales, message me. Let me know, because I don't know, and I don't know what happens to half the lives that I have. I do have a YouTube channel that I've been putting all my lives onto, but I haven't transferred like my last 3 or 4 onto my YouTube channel yet. Just because I mean, I can't fit anything else on my phone. So, Bonnie, I do have a full tutorial here in the group on doing dragon mermaid scales. I did it like 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe. Maybe it's longer. I don't know. I lose track of time. It's COVID, you know. But let me know if you can't find it. I'll see if I can find it. I'll see if I can link it to this. The process is a little bit different, but still very much the same. I think what I'll do is next Sunday, I think I have the coaster tutorial. I might switch it to the part 2. I'm not sure. If I don't do it next week, I'll do it the following week so that you all can catch up and give you time to get your eye sculpted, give you time to decide, do you want to just buy a mold off of Amazon or Etsy or wherever you want to get your molds from. You know, like, think about it though, that for the 1 cup that you're going to do, how many of these are you going to do? Do you need a mold? Can you make it work with the clay? I did find that people have said to me, I don't have any clay sculpting ability, but I just showed you how to do it. It's super simple. It's the basic shape. It's little snakes of clay and then adding little bits of detail. If you're not getting the detail that you want from it, reach out to me and let me know, and I will see if I can help you to get more detail or better detail into it. Sometimes it's just using a different tool. Like these would actually make really good scales. If you have these, this is just a, I don't know, I use them to mix in mica into my epoxy. But these work super good because of this shape that's down here. Coffee stirs work really good too for small scales. If you want big scales, like big Mondo scales, you can use popsicle sticks like this. If you have clay tools, then you can use the clay tools to help you to get the more detail. Take a piece of clay, roll it out, put it down, and play on it and see how you feel about it. Like, okay, what does this shape give you? What does this thing do for you? You know, the other thing that works really good? These. Hey, Melinda. How you doing? Glad you got here, though. You can use something like this. You can use the other end for it. So many. Go through the kids' toy boxes. Man, those kids have, like, treasure when it comes to clay crafting tools that you can use to get, like, really, really awesome effects. Like Legos. There's some really cool stuff. I'm dropping you guys. That isn't going to work. Dang it. Trying not to hold the phone because I'm afraid I'm going to turn you guys off, which ends up happening. But I had to put you guys on the charger. Oh, hey, look at that. Oh, I think we got success. You get to see my ugly mug anyhow. Yes. So this was the eye that I finished, and I really love how it came out. So what I'm going to show you is this. Here's the eye. I built it up. This is actually from a mold that I found. It needs a little more detailing work because some of the detail didn't transfer well with the clay, which is another thing that you're going to have to consider when you're buying a mold and you're paying for a mold. When you're going to do clay transfer with a mold, a lot of times, particularly fine detail, you're going to lose that detailing. You're going to lose a lot of detailing, which means that you're going to actually have to get in there with tools and you're going to have to put the detailing back in. Is it worth it? I don't know. I can't answer that for you. For me, I said no. I'm sorry that I paid for molds. You know, like when I got a mold, 90% of the time when I buy a mold, I'm like, why did I buy a mold? I should have just did it myself. I would have been more happy that way. Let me show you this eye because I think this came out pretty awesome. I'm just going to put a little piece of clay here on my cup and stick it on. Boop. So that's my eye. This area here, oops, shoot. Oh my goodness, almost broken. All right, I'm going to hold it here. This area here, so this is the eye, and this comes down into where the nose, the snout would be. That's why this is built up, and it's pretty thick, and it's built up here. This part here would be the eye right over the brow area, and then as this progressed up, it would be more like moving into the round part of the skull. Have a wonderful dinner, Sandy. Okay, so, and that's what happens. It's really up to you. You want to get a mold, get you a mold. You baking process, same thing. You're going to put this into the oven on your cup. You're going to bake a cold oven, 220, let it come up to temperature for 20 minutes, bake it for 20 minutes, shut the oven off, let it cool off completely. If you take it out and the back is still squishy, not hard, not, you know, not really set, let the oven completely cool off. Generally, I wait overnight. Redo the whole baking process one last time. It should be perfectly fine. If you don't make your clay super thick, you're not going to have that problem. It will bake the first time through. If your clay is really thick, you might have to bake it twice. I don't recommend making it any thicker than like a 1/4 inch max. Maybe a tiny smidge. Like this appears that it's thicker because it's actually curved underneath. So if you can see, like it's actually curved. So this part of it makes it look like it's thicker, but it isn't. It's maybe, I'm going to say like this part right here where my fingers are, it might be a 1/4 inch thick. The rest of it runs about an eighth of an inch. So there you go. So thank you guys for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed it. Again, you know, you can check out my YouTube channel, which has all the tutorials on it. If you go through the group and you search under my name, it will also bring up like all of the lives that I've done in the past. Well, the ones that didn't delete themselves for some reason. I don't know why they do that. But anywho's. So thanks, guys. Have a fantastic day. Let me know if you have problems or have any questions. I'm happy to help you all out. Bye.